Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Space Monkey Mafia here, and today is Spooky Sunday, so we're going to be continuing the story I've been doing for the past few weeks. This is part 5, so if you haven't seen parts 1 through 4, I would go watch those first, because otherwise it's just going to be super confusing. Also, my cat's running around a bit, so if there's some little noises, because the little cat noises, oh gosh, he's on my laptop. Oh, stop. He's, okay, yeah, he's just being a cat. You know how cats are. I'll admit, last night was a rough one for me. Losing something like that reminds me of why I started all of this in the first place. After writing down what I had gone through during the Salem child hunt, I received news that I would be sent as backup tonight. In my line of business, backup is a corporate way of telling us the last hunter failed and we were expected to clean up. More often than not, failure was death. Sleep wouldn't have come easy if I wasn't so exhausted, but my dreams didn't pull their punches. I saw her face in every scene. I woke and went through the throes of my day job, and I'll be honest, nothing really to report. Do you really want me to say I picked up some roadkill day after day? That's not why you're here. I have a lot to write down, and a lot I need to do after I finish writing tonight's entry, so we're going to cut right to the hunt. As I said, it was a backup call. They didn't tell me who, only that a hunter had failed to report back after being sent out. When they told me what I'd be hunting, I wasn't surprised and only hoped the hunter wasn't someone I respected, because that was only going to make the job harder on me. I've told you before that not all cryptids are bad, and that I generally don't take any joy in killing them, but some cryptids, they only exist to make people miserable. The fast jacket is one such evil creature. Even worse, you have to come to them. As long as they have their source of food, they remain in one area until needing to feed again. If I were to guess, I'd say the previous hunter was sent out to kill the fast jacket during its hunt for food, and ended up becoming said food. I couldn't set a trap or even outsmart the thing. This did work in my favor in the department of me needing to take out some very pent-up anger. Back before all this, I would take long drives before I went to work. I need to find peace with my emotions so I could channel them. I was young and far too poetic, but it's become a ritual that I follow to this day. So that's what I did. I and Elvis passed through winding forests and across amber pastures. I couldn't help but think of all the hunts that I had been to in these places, how I had become as much of the ecosystem as any other wildlife. When I ran out of patience with my ritual, I turned around and headed to the fast jacket's feeding spot. It was an out-of-service parking garage located in a construction zone not too far from where I eradicated the caviar contaminant just 2 nights prior. It's possible the fast jacket saw the chaos the virus left behind and took advantage of it. Pulling in the front of the crumbling gray parking garage, I pulled out a stack of CDs from the visor above my head and fingered through them. When I found the CD I wanted, I let it slide into the player and turned the volume to the max. Stepping out, I could hear the speakers on top of the truck buzzing to life with static. I pulled a mesh of copper wire from the truck bed and double-checked my pockets before heading into the building. Starting on the ground floor, I observed the vacant and broken structure before me. Not a single car in sight. It wouldn't be hard to find the fast jacket. I just needed to ascend and take a quick peek until I hit bingo. With each step, I heard either broken glass or chunks of concrete fall apart under my heavy boots. The further I went up, the darker the structure became as the wind whistled through each level and the staircase I used to climb up. The wind seemed to carry the sound of static coming from my truck below. Floor 2 was empty. Floor 3 was empty. Floor 4 was empty. Floor 5 is where the fast jacket had decided to begin eating its prey. I almost missed it despite being the only blemish of shadow on the empty floor. It was hunched over several feet away from the stairwell. I walked, and when I was close enough, I threw the copper wire onto the concrete. It didn't make much noise, but the fast jacket noticed regardless. It rose to its feet and turned on me, a moniker of intelligence being shown in its movements, almost human but still infantile. I could see its wriggling skin in the building's shade. Perhaps that's not the right way to describe it. Imagine you bought a skin-tight suit that covered every inch of you. Imagine that suit mimicked the color of your skin. Imagine it had a consciousness and was eating your body under it at a snail's pace, that it left you alive but unable to move of your own volition. That's a fast jacket. Until it finds a host, it might as well be a piece of pink gum sitting under a school desk. When it finds something to eat, it wraps around their body completely, looking like some beefed up and featureless Ken doll. The fast jacket is made entirely of muscle and gets its consciousness from its host, which it will pilot like a puppet. You can see the muscles moving around, contracting and vibrating as it would eat away at its food, thousands of microscopic teeth grating away at what's under it like sandpaper. The more muscle the host has, the better. So people like hunters would be a delicacy to this thing. Where the host's face would be is blank save for a few surgical-like cuts that open and close like heart valves, allowing the host to get oxygen. These guys are non-stop killers. They feed, move on, and feed again. They have no selection process and will often use their host to kill the next piece of food. It's a disgusting cycle, and I could tell looking at the thing another hunter was underneath. I heard the static from below kick out for a moment, perfect timing. I pulled my jacket off and let it fall to the floor, the fast jacket likely thinking it found its next meal. Reaching into my jeans, I pulled a set of bronze knuckle dusters out and slipped my fingers into them. A fast jacket is comprised completely of muscle, and most of its mobility comes from the host it takes on. There aren't many ways to deal with it. Bullets seem largely ineffective, as the skin constricts when shot and the bullets simply don't pierce. Bronze, however, burns the thing. A mixture of pressure and bronze will singe its flesh and deprive its ability to puppet the body if enough of it is applied. The fast jacket making its way, walking in a half circle to avoid the wire I had dropped. Then it started. A familiar song started to play from my radio speakers. I closed my eyes for just a moment. I could hear the roaring crowd. I was back 5 years, if only for a brief moment. Are there other ways to deal with a fast jacket? Sure, I knew of a few. Is this how I chose to do it anyway? Yes. Almost by muscle memory, I closed my fists and put my arms up guarding my chest. Knees buckled and my stance widened. With my entrance song cascading into the building, the fast jacket lunged forward and took a swing at me. Aggressive things they are. My head and chest lowered in response until I was under the thing's attack. 2 swift jabs, one from each arm, fired out like pistons. It had been so long, I was surprised my body remembered how to do this. The bronze left a burn mark on it, and a small trail of smoke lifted from each impact point. It reacted and stumbled back from me, which is a superb way to lose your footing, especially if you're just piloting a human. My footwork, just as I had many times before, quickly closed the distance it created. Still bent over, I sprung my body up and arched my right arm above my head, landing a hard uppercut to the jaw. Some of its wriggling mass tore off and dropped to the ground. A bizarre attempt at manipulating the hunter's vocal cords created this babbling and stuttered speech, similar to the ramblings of a child. All the cuts that adorned its face flared open, revealing the hunter's face under. It stumbled and threw another swing. My torso drifted back, letting the first pass right by my face. Altering my momentum, I shot forward and plunged a right hook straight into its face, throwing it to the floor. As it squirmed around, I walked over to pick up the copper wire. I could feel its presence as it bent over, looming over me. It had gotten up far faster than I expected. Before I could react, it lifted its toes into my stomach, nearly smacking my rib cage, whose bones would have surely busted. I got too cocky. Perhaps that was ingrained in my muscles from back then, too. Locked away under all the concussions and broken bones. I moved swiftly to get back in stance, but my favor was returned and I felt a hard blow to my face. I could hear my nose give way under the pressure. An all too familiar crack. My back hit the ropes. It hit concrete. It started throwing hands at me like a desperate drunk, but a drunk that was much stronger than me. Blows landed hard all over my body. I could taste a pool of dark red iron building around my tongue. I kept my arms up as best I could, but the thing was too unpredictable. I remember what my team would say to me in these situations. Something stupid like, "If you're not down on the mat, you're not out." I pulled forward and wrapped my arms around its arms, squeezing as hard as I could and pushed away from the pillar. I could feel it moving around under me, its skin constantly shifting like a gel-filled balloon. Letting go, I quickly threw a right hook. It connected, follow up, left fist slamming into its side. Keep going. Don't get cocky. I needed to overclock its functions. Its inertia was in my hands after the second hit. It wouldn't know how to back off or switch things up. If I kept hitting it, I was in control. Screw this thing. My body became a machine, bobbing and weaving, arms like pistons throwing out shot after shot, each one as powerful as the last. I wouldn't notice how much the knuckles were ripping up my skin until afterwards. Once again, the thing fell to the concrete. This time I pounced on it and proceeded to pummel its face, the burns from the smoke sending plumes of smoke into my eye. My song was long over. The fight was long over. With all my aggression out, I stood up and returned to the wire. With it, I wrapped the fast jacket up. The wire would be enough to keep it dormant until I got home and used a more permanent solution. The trek down the stairs was eye-opening, making me come to terms with just how much damage the fast jacket did in its flurry. I'll be purple all over come sunrise. Placing the fast jacket where I normally throw these things, the radio went off and the truck turned on. I began to drive home. I was in a bit of a rush, wanting to get home and soak in a nice hot bath and take care of the skin in my truck bed. I wasn't being careful. I was spending too much and watching the road too little. I could have seen it. One moment I was watching my headlights covering the road, the next I could see pavement moving in the hood as the truck flipped over. The hood slammed into the pavement after my hang time was over. The seatbelt tightened and rubbed far too many of my injuries. Frantically, I unbuckled my seatbelt, sending me falling. Between the fight and this wreck, my body was totaled. Looking out the shattered windshield, I could see the one working headlight. Its illumination sparked against a spiderweb-like network of thick cables. I reached for my shotgun and dragged myself out of the busted driver's side window, glass cutting against my skin, giving me further lacerations. Once on the pavement, I looked over myself. Cuts and patches of blood stained my shirt and pants. My breathing became hard to control as I tried to collect my surroundings. Looking back to the cables, I was met with a figure basking in the glow of the truck's flickering headlight. "Couldn't have been clearer," a wispy dark voice claimed. The light bounced off his dark purple skin, most of which was hidden under a formal buttoned-up black duster, his bright yellow eyes glowing just under the rim of his dark cowboy-like hat. "You just had to stop, my boy." My fingers scrambled back to the shotgun. I heard a disapproving click of the tongue from the man and my arms seized up. I couldn't move it an inch, and before I knew it, the man's fingers wrapped around my shoulder. Not that those bullets would do much damage. Consider it a conservation of your supplies. Looking up, now on my knees and powerless to move, he was towering over my somehow paralyzed frame. I had just gone a few rounds with a writhing mass of muscle, and whatever this was shut me down with just a touch. I was searching through everything I knew about cryptids for an answer, but nothing rung a bell. Instead, I asked a question, what he wanted from me and why he wanted it. "I want you to stop hunting," he said as he let go of my shoulder and began to pace around my crash site. My body became lax the moment he let me free of whatever control he had. "You and your people are messing with the natural order," he boomed. A layer of rage was bubbling just under his calm demeanor. He looked briefly at my neck. I think he was observing the chair and the ring that hang from it. He sighed like he was genuinely upset with the situation. I couldn't get a read on him. "Whatever your motivation, you must forget it. Because next time you and I meet," he looked over at Elvis, wrecked and twisted, "only one of us will be leaving the scene, and I'm not placing any bets on you, Jack." He then turned and began to walk away from me. I wanted more than anything to put a spread of bullets in his back. Before the thought had even crossed my mind, he was long gone. I'd been watching him the entire time, and even now I can't recall the moment he vanished. I can't help but feel he wasn't some cryptid, but I can't for the life of me come up with another explanation. I stayed in that road until my knees started to burn. I would just swivel my head back and forth, looking at the scattered remains of my truck, looking at the fast jacket that had been ejected from the truck bed during the crash. I had to do something with it. The copper wire wouldn't last forever, and I wouldn't be winning any fights. I dragged myself to my feet and hopped over to the creature. Grabbing its feet, I started pulling. The wire scraped against the pavement for the last half mile that it took to get home. My body reacted like I had been hiking an entire week straight. Every effort to drag the fast jacket another foot was met with painful resistance. I did make it home, and the fast jacket made it into cold storage where its feeding would be frozen until I could properly take care of it. I'm writing to you now, and I don't know what to do. I want to tell myself that on a good day I could take the purple man down. That's what I'm calling him. The trap he set was a show of intelligence, capability, and power. He wanted me to know how many leagues above me he was. I want to get back out there and hunt the things that prey on the innocent, but if my next hunt is my last, is there a point? Will he even let me leave the house tomorrow? I want to be able to keep talking to you folks, but as I stare out my back window, I see two graves. Two different parts of my life are buried back there, and right now I can't return to either one of them, not without losing more. I called a tow truck, they went down and picked up Elvis as best they can. I'm tending to my wounds the best I can right now as well. I've gone through nearly an entire bottle of rubbing alcohol and a few bottles of harder alcohol. I was under the impression I was the type that lives to work, so what am I if I'm unable to get back out there? The roadkill job is fine, but at the end of the day, it's empty. Knowing I was helping people in some capacity, even if they never knew, knowing I was at least giving these creatures a quiet way out, most of them, was a surreal feeling. It was a good run, but I'm beaten. Sorry guys, I'm done. Good night. Goodbye. Jack. Anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying this story. I really like it. I think there's just one more part to this, though I could be wrong. So far, I just see one more part. I haven't read it yet, so we'll see how it goes. It'll be fun to see how it ends. Sorry about all the background noise. I record by a window, and it's been raining pretty heavily all day, so not much I can do about that. And, like, the little air conditioning unit's going, like, nuts. So, sorry about all the background noise and everything. I hope you guys still enjoyed it. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, all that good little YouTube stuff. I really hope you guys did like it, though. And if you did, I'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye.